everything right, it was you and me.
Hello everyone, my name is Nayeema and welcome back to my channel. So for today's video, I am doing my March wrap up. In March, I read a total of 15 books, 4,270 pages. 3 of them were physical books, 4 of them were audiobooks, and 8 of them were ebooks. I did 0 rereads, 0 from the library, 2 ARCs, 7 owned, and I mostly read romance, fantasy, and graphic novels. Let me know if you guys like statistics and wrap-ups. I like journal my statistics and I was like, maybe I should let you guys know what they were just in case anyone was interested. But overall, I had a pretty great reading month. I've read the most amount of books this month thus far in 2022, which is 15 books, and I found some really good ones. I'm pretty sure some of them are going to be new favorites. Yeah, I'm super excited to tell you guys all about them. So without further ado, let's just get right into today's video. So the first book that I read in March was The Fine Print by Lauren Asher, and I gave that book 5 stars. And I really loved this book. I was hesitant because I saw most of its hype coming from TikTok, and you guys know I do not 100% trust TikTok. So I was really hesitant to get into this book. I did try Throttled beforehand by Lauren Asher, and I literally couldn't get past chapter 1. So I was hesitant, but I decided to pick it up, and I was so taken aback and so shocked because the hype for this book is so well deserved. I loved it so much. So it follows this girl named Zara, and she basically lives and works at this place called Dreamland, and it's kind of like a make-believe Disney World. And she works there cutting hair in one of like the little salons or something. Her whole family has worked there. Like her whole life is basically at Dreamland. One drunken night, she sends a proposal to like the higher ups, basically bashing the park's most famous ride and like telling all the issues of the park. And she actually gets promoted to work underneath Rowan. Rowan's grandfather owns Dreamland, and he recently passed away, and it's written in the will that Rowan needs to become like the CEO of something in order to get the money from the will or get like a even higher up position. And so Zara's working right underneath Rowan, and it's so good. It's a grumpy sunshine workplace romance. It kind of has like the You've Got Mail trope with like pen pals. It's just such a good book, and I was not okay by the time I finished it. I didn't realize how much this book emotionally impacted me. I was like shocked. I was sitting when I was finished like looking around me because this was just too good. And it was so good that I ended up picking the next book in the series, Terms and Conditions by Lauren Asher, immediately after. And this book took me out. Like it was so good. And I ended up giving Terms and Conditions 5 stars. It was like marriage of convenience, mutual pining, I'd want to say. And also the guy falls first. It was so evident that the hero was like head over heels in love with her. It was just magic. Another grumpy sunshine situation. And there was also the chase, which I love a good chase in books and movies and TV shows. Give me a chase and I'll eat it up. Like this book, wow. It was also an interracial couple, so we had a black heroine and a white hero. Follows the brother of Rowan from Fine Print. His part of the will from his grandfather's will was that he needs to get married and have a child in order to get like money or again like a higher up position in the overarching company, I guess. He is a horrible person. Like he's incredibly grumpy and just like not a lot of people like him. He's not a good people person. So his assistant is trying to find him a wife to marry, and people agree, but then they like back out of it. And it is the night of the engagement party for the hero and like some random girl, and she backs out and runs away. He's left in a bind because there are tons of people here waiting to see him get married and find out who his fiance is. His assistant steps in and saves the day, and now they have to act like they're in love, and they have to act like they like each other, which they do. What I really like about this one is that the heroine like is the only one who really truly knows him, and she is the best assistant that he's ever had. And it was just such a good romance. I love a good marriage of convenience, and this really served. Like Lauren Asher really shocked me, so I'm super excited to read her racing series or whatever the Throttled and all those other books were, because the Fine Print and terms and conditions were amazing. The next book I read was Hook, Line, and Sinker by Tessa Bailey, and I ended up giving this one 4 stars. So, It Happened One Summer is one of my favorite books of all time. That book was just excellent to me, and so I was super excited to read Hook, Line, and Sinker when it came out. It just didn't exactly, it was still really good, don't get me wrong, but it didn't give exactly what I needed it to give. It took me so long to actually get into the book after initially starting it, and then once the audiobook got uploaded to Scribd, that's when I just finished the book altogether. And at that point it got better, but I ended up giving it 4 stars just because it happened one summer, and like I put so much high expectations into this book because I loved It Happened One Summer. It was still a good book. So this book follows Hannah, who is featured in the first book, and that is Piper's younger sister. Hannah has this whole thing about her not exactly being the main character. She's like a supporting actress, basically everybody else's world, and she's just living in it, that kind of complex. When she was in that small town that Piper was sent to, I forgot the name of it, Green Creek? No. Bellinger? No, that's the name of the sisters. Anyways, the small town, she met this guy named Fox last summer, and since then they've kept a friendship going, a long distance friendship. It's not really flirty, they're just good friends. They chat over music all the time, they text every single day, and they have a really solid friendship. From the first book we learned that Hannah is like huge into music. She works for this like producer who like makes movies and TV shows. She really just wanted to not use her connections to get the job. She wanted to be in the background and just watch people work. Her boss is shooting like a new movie or something like that. Hannah suggests that they go to that small town and film there. She's really just trying to like gain a voice and come up with ideas, and they end up filming the movie at this small town. Hannah stays with Fox, so it is a roommate romance, which I love, and all I can say is like the sexual tension cannot be denied. I hated the conflict and the issue with Fox and his like problem. I just hated that. I don't want to give any spoilers, but that was not my favorite plot line for a character. But overall this book was pretty good. Not as good as It Happened One Summer, but I gave it 4 stars. The next book that I read was Shatter Me by 𝓫𝓸𝓬𝓲𝓪, and I gave this one 3 stars. And I really picked this up just because I was getting kind of tired of romance like for the first time ever, and I was like, let me just pick up a fantasy for a minute. I own this one. I really wanted to read tons of books off of my physical TBR in March, so I decided to pick it up. I listened to the audiobook one night and it was just not memorable. I feel like if I read this years ago I would have loved it, so I ended up giving it 3 stars. It's just really not memorable. It's kind of like creepy and dystopian. So you have this girl named Juliet, and she's like locked away in like some type of like jail or prison, and she feels like she's going crazy, and she kind of is a little bit. Like, she's been locked up for years. One day she gets like this boy sent into the same room as her, and she's scared of him at first. She basically is like helping him out because he's confused as to what is going on, why they're both there, and so she's helping him. And she finds out that this is all like an elaborate scheme. She was sent away to like this jail/prison because this group of people wanted to watch her and basically use her for a war because she has some type of power. I really don't exactly remember this one all too much, but I was happy that I read it because I owned it for quite some time. Will I be continuing with the series? Probably not, but yeah, it was just fun. I gave it 3 stars. The next book that I read was The Walking Dead Volume 1, and this is another book that I owned, and I was like, you know what? Let me just go ahead and get it out of the way and just read the book. I ended up giving it 5 stars. I thought it was so good. I am a huge The Walking Dead fan. I loved the show so much. Me and my mom used to watch it all the time together when I was a little bit younger, and so I decided to read the volume, and it's pretty true to the book. If you don't know what it's about this guy named Rick, and he is a sheriff, and one day he gets shot and he has to like go to the hospital obviously to get it taken care of, and one day he wakes up out of a coma and he realizes that the world is ending, and that is because there are tons of zombies. It is great. It is magic. I want to rewatch the show so badly. The show is like so good. That was what the first one was about. Illustrations were beautiful. I thought the detail was great. So I ended up giving it 5 stars, and then immediately after I picked up the second volume because I owned it. It was not as good as the first one, So I ended up giving it 4 stars, but it was still good all the same. The next book that I read was Beautiful Beginning by Christina Lauren. I gave this one 4 stars, and again, I only read this because I owned it. It was kind of dumb for me to just go ahead and buy random books in the series because I did read the first one, Beautiful Bastard, and that one was pretty good. I remember rating it pretty high. I thought the smut was great. It was like a workplace romance between a man and his assistant. And then one day, randomly, I just went and bought Beautiful Boss and Beautiful Beginning because I knew they were in the series. So I ended up reading it. It was very, very short, and I gave it 4 stars. And this one is basically preparing them for the wedding. This is a wedding novella where they get married, and it was super funny and just smutty. I loved the tension. There might have been like a little bet or agreement to see who could break first, which I love. I gave it 4 stars just because I wasn't really up to date with the characters up until this book. And I read Beautiful Boss, and I gave this one 3 stars. This one was really random to me. I had no idea who these characters were because it followed 2 characters that have other books, but this was like a short, small novella, and I gave it 3 stars. It was this couple getting married again, but it enters them into the real world and their relationship after getting married. I don't know, it was pretty, like, I didn't know what was going on, so I gave it 3 stars. And then I read The Arc of the Savage by Sophie Lark. This is the final book and the 5th book in the Kingmaker series, and you guys know this is one of my all-time favorite series ever, and this book did not disappoint. I just thought that this book was beautiful and intimate and just such a different vibe from the other Kingmakers books, which I appreciated. This one definitely is very much more mafia than college students, but it was great. Trigger warnings for drug usage, obviously like violence and such. It's a mafia romance. Followed Sabrina and Adric, and they met at the end of The Spy. And Sabrina is kind of the girl who everybody just gravitates toward her. She's beautiful, she's spunky. I literally in my review called her a femme fatale because that is her. She is literally the embodiment of a femme fatale. At the end of The Spy, Adric meets Sabrina and he's like, listen, in the summer I'm coming back and I'm gonna get you and we are going on a date. And she's like, okay, whatever. And so he actually does. It's the end of their year, and Adric comes and picks up Sabrina and they go on this whirlwind date, and Adric actually offers Sabrina a job under his own mafia that he's like starting. Sabrina agrees, so they go to Russia and that's where they're living, and it is great. I don't want to spoil too much, but she really just has to make like the mafia work, help out Adric. What I love about this book is that Sabrina is just such a powerful woman. She really just embraces like her darkness and her dark side, and she dances alongside of it. She doesn't try to like conceal it. She's just super magnetic and draws everyone in. And Adric is just so pure and has a heart of gold, even though like he's this big mafia boss. He is just so pure and sweet. I was literally giddy while reading his perspective. It was just so good. And like I said, I just think that this book was so much more intimate than her other books. There was really like a found family trope in here, which I just love, and I loved the scenes between Adric and Sabrina so much, and it just made my heart really happy. And I was so emotional and sad after finishing this book because it truly is the last Kingmakers book, so I had to give it 5 stars. It was great. I just love it with my whole heart. And then I read, this one's a little bit weird. So basically I follow a bunch of TikTokers, like I'm sure so many of you do, and this one girl is all about like manifesting and the law of assumption and just becoming the best version of you. And she wrote a book. It's called Becoming a Femme Fatale. And after reading about Sabrina and the Savage, I was like, okay, I need to embody her. So what I did was purchase this ebook from this random TikToker about becoming a femme fatale, and it was pretty good. I will say it was a pretty interesting book and I learned a lot. It's not on Goodreads. It's literally just called Becoming a Femme Fatale. 3 stars. I learned some useful information, and that's all really I can say about it, I guess. And then for my book club, Between the Covers with Reagan from Rare Reads and Em from Em Reads Romance, our March pick was Good Girl Complex, so I decided to pick that one up. And the live show, I believe, is still up on Reagan's channel, so you guys can go back and listen to our discussion and watch our discussion on it. I ended up giving this one one, 3.5 stars. And in the beginning, this book was great. It was serving Outer Banks. It was serving After. I love both of those things so much. Altogether, this book ended up just really falling flat for me. I gave it 3.5 stars. It's about this girl named Mackenzie, and she's like this business mogul, tech mogul. She created an app where people can basically like tell funny stories about their boyfriends. She made an agreement with her parents after high school that she would go to college. So she goes to college and she keeps this promise, and she has a boyfriend already there who she kind of like grew up with, and she's basically kind of like promised to him. Her parents and his parents have an arrangement kind of thing, and Mackenzie truly believes that she loves him until she gets to college. And where she goes to college, there's this whole thing with locals and clones, and clones are like the rich students who like are only there for the school year and then leave, and they basically treat the locals like crap. One night, Mackenzie's boyfriend treats the hero, Cooper, horribly. He gets him fired from his job, and ever since then, Cooper really wanted to get revenge on him. Him and his friends are like, listen, we gotta get revenge on this guy, and what better way to do it than make his girlfriend dump him and fall in love with Cooper. And so that's basically what the premise of this book is. Mackenzie's boyfriend is a horrible person, but Mackenzie didn't know it, and it just like really irked me because her boyfriend was cheating on her while she was cheating on him. I know tons of you guys don't like cheating, so you probably wouldn't like this book, but I ended up giving it 3 stars, 3.5. I thought it was pretty interesting, and I thought that the atmosphere was just stunning. I love books with that sort of atmosphere, so yeah, I give it 3.5 stars. Would I recommend it? Yes, but just know everything to know about this book before going in. It's not entirely too favorable. And so many people, like Em said this in our live chat, that this did not feel like 𝓿𝓤𝓷𝓼's usual writing. It was just so different and so weird. And I have to say, like, I honestly completely agree. Like, this did not feel like 𝓿𝓤𝓷 at all. The next book that I read was First Semester by QB Tyler, and this is a very short book. I think it was around like 150 pages. And I actually really enjoyed this one. I gave it 3 stars. Would I recommend it? Yes. It basically follows this girl named Skylar after a year abroad in Italy where her mom is from. She falls in love with this guy, and he completely breaks her heart and dumps her. And she comes back home to the US, and her parents are like, okay, time for college now. Oh, I really don't want to go, but I guess I have to just like move on with my life. She's completely destroyed over this guy, and it is her first night in her new college apartment, and she meets this girl who lives on the same floor as her, and she invites Skylar out, introduces her to her friends. Skylar decides to get on this dating app and meet someone new, have a little hookup, and just completely get over this guy. And she does. She hooks up with this man, and a few days later, she finds out that he is her professor, and things are awkward as hell. The smut in here was just amazing. I felt like it was kind of written 2015, even though this book came out in 2018. I just felt like this book definitely was written differently, and it just had like such a nostalgic vibe to it for some reason. I think it was just the way it was written. I thought that this book was pretty good. I mean, I gave it 3 stars. I love a forbidden, taboo relationship. This one had me really anxious because these 2 characters were making dumb decisions about when they would see each other, and yeah. But overall, it's pretty good. I would definitely recommend if you like taboo and forbidden romances, and also teacher-student romances. And then I read and vlogged my experience reading Sinner by Sierra Simone. I ended up really loving this, but I'm not going to talk about it because my vlog is coming out very soon with all of my thoughts. So yeah, but I did really enjoy this book, so be on the lookout for a vlog because this book right here, amazing. And then after reading Sinner, I decided to pick up Second Semester by QB Tyler, and this is book 2 in her series, and I also gave this one 3 stars. This is again another forbidden and taboo romance, and it follows Skylar's sister from the first book. The heroine gets a job working at her father's law firm. Her father has a partner in this law firm, and it is a romance between the daughter and the partner. So it is dad's best friend. It's forbidden. It is scary. This is another book where I was so anxious because these characters are making stupid decisions that would get them caught. But it was, again, super steamy. It had that whole like innocent virgin trope, which I honestly go feral for. So yeah, I gave it 3 stars. It was pretty good. And last but not least, this is definitely one of my favorite books that I read in March. It was The Tyrant Alpha's Rejected Mate by Kate C. Wells. And guys, this book guys was so good. I have not read a book in so long that I was literally anxious to go home and read this book. In the middle of class, I'm just whipping out my phone to read it. It was amazing, and I will never get over this book. And I'm so happy because the second book comes out this month, April 22nd. So I'm so excited. It's a werewolf romance, if you can tell. It follows the alpha of a pack and a lone wolf. First of all, the alpha's name was Killian, and that is my favorite like werewolf alpha name. So I knew that this was gonna be a fantastic book already, but this book follows this lone wolf named Una. Una has kind of like a bad leg, and she's just not really taken seriously. She doesn't have any family left. She's never mated with anyone, so people have looked down upon her and the other wolves who have not mated. Una is just kind of like this independent person. She had to learn how to be independent. She started a business where she basically trades with the humans, which is not allowed. The lone wolves have to serve like the higher ranking wolves. And so one day she is in like the dining hall and she's serving and working or whatever, and she feels something weird happen to her. She's also never shifted before. She feels something weird happening to her body, and she realizes that she is in heat and that her wolf is about to come out. She also never had been in heat before, and she doesn't understand why, and she feels this draw to the alpha, which is Killian. And Killian is a horrible person. He is a tyrant. He does not really know what to do with this pack, so he's just kind of like barking out orders. Killian kind of feels something weird too, but not to the full extent as Una. And basically she realizes that Killian is her mate, and she kind of loses it. There's a girl next to him and she's hugging him, and she's like, oh no, he's not touching my mate. Goes and challenges this other wolf. They get into a fight, and Una loses very badly because her wolf is small and underdeveloped and just kind of weak. Killian has to stop it. Killian asks why she fought this girl. She said, because you are my mate. And Killian kind of like laughs in her face. Not exactly, he was kind of like nice about it, but he was like, everybody knows I don't have a mate. Like, why do you think you're my mate? You do nothing for this pack, like nothing. And Una is obviously very embarrassed. She just lost a fight. She just got rejected by her mate in front of everyone. And she decides to kind of like run away while she's in this heat. She's in pain. It's not good. Her inner wolf is like screaming because her mate, she just got rejected. A woman stumbles across her, and it's another wolf, and she's kind of like a witch in the pack. And she decides to help out Una and break the mating bond between her and Killian. She was like, Killian's gonna regret it. Like, you're gonna be fine, but Killian's gonna regret it, because she only broke the sever of the mate bond in Una. And so this book is so good. She had like, this guy just rejected her. He's like a horrible person, and you really just see him like crumble and be devastated and confused because he thought he didn't have a mate, but it's actually Una, and he always overlooked her, and now she doesn't want him, so he has to basically chase her. This book has immaculate chase, which you guys know I love. And this book was just so, like, I literally can't ever stop thinking about it. I'm so excited for the second book to come out. And yeah, I'm really excited to read more Kate C. Wells too, because she doesn't have too many books in her backlist, so I think I'm gonna binge her pretty soon. But yeah, I mean, I will never be able to get over this. I love when the girl is just like kind of indifferent and the guy's losing his absolute crap over her. He gets super jealous and possessive because obviously these are werewolves, which I'm a werewolf girl, like through and through. I'm not a vampire person. I will go crazy for a good werewolf romance. So yeah, this one was great. I'm so happy I read this. Like, my friend Heather recommended it. It was amazing. Definitely check out her recs. And yeah, I'm very excited for the second book to come out. I obviously rated that one 5 stars if I did not say so already, and this is definitely going to be a favorite of the entire year. So that was the last book that I read in March. I read 15 books, and I'm pretty happy with my reading month. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed, don't forget to leave a big like and a comment down below, and also subscribe so you never miss another upload from me. And I will see you very shortly with a new video. Bye.
one thing right, it was you and me.